We are back on MorningLine. Thanks for joining us on this Monday. Good Monday morning to you. With us this morning, Clint Kelly, malpractice attorney, joins us once a month. Appreciate him coming on. The number is up, 737-7587. I know it's sometimes a little slow on Mondays, but you're welcome to join in the conversation. We got some lines open, and I don't know, Clint, has there been anything that's caught your eye of late? Month to month, there can sometimes be cases that surface all of a sudden that capture our attention. What's grabbed you? Anything?
Well, yeah, there's one case I thought was interesting because it was a mix of a malpractice case from a hospital mixed with a legal malpractice case.
All right.
Which is the worst of the worst.
All right. Okay, so it's a hospital and a. All right.
Okay. But long story short, this woman hired a firm to file a medical malpractice case against a hospital in Michigan. And the firm went to trial and won a $20 million verdict. It was a brain injury that occurred in a hospital that was not managed properly. Okay. So anyway, they get this verdict, celebrate. The defendants claimed that the law firm that handled the malpractice case screwed up the filing process. Just like we have here in Tennessee, there are very specific filing requirements in Michigan that must be followed, and if they're not followed, the case can die.
Okay, this is after the verdict?
Correct. After the verdict, the case went up to the Michigan Court of Appeals. The Michigan Court of Appeals reversed the verdict. In other words, destroyed the verdict, saying that the plaintiff lawyer had failed to comply with the filing requirements.
What, was it like a little paperwork clerical error? It had nothing to do with the facts of the case.
No.
Just that, what do you know, have any idea what kind of form that was? What mistake did they make? Was it like not properly doing it within a certain timetable or something?
My understanding is they fouled up the notice procedure. It's the same procedure we have here in Tennessee where you have to give pre-suit notice before you file the lawsuit. And pre-suit notice has very specific technical requirements that must be followed in order to have the right to file the lawsuit in court. That was not done here in Michigan. That's why it's so important. You've got to pick a lawyer who knows what they're doing in medical malpractice, because those filing requirements are very specific. Those are things I'm trained on, and those of us who are board certified in this, we're trained to learn and understand and do proficiently. This firm didn't.
Is that double jeopardy now, or could they go back and have to do it all over again?
No, they can't do it all over again because the defect itself is fatal. There's no retrial.
What? But that's just, all right, I understand having to follow that kind of protocol, but for something of that magnitude, $20 million, which means that obviously they agreed there was real damage there.
Oh, yeah.
A little clerical error along those lines in terms of filing kind of throws it all out and it's gone forever?
It's gone forever. Now,
that's stunning. I mean, and that plus, by the way, that not only hurt the family, of course, which lost all that money, but that lawyer was due a heck of a payday, and he or she blew it.
Not only did he or she blow it, but remember I told you there's two malpractices. Now this family is suing the law firm for legal malpractice. Now, they won't have $20 million in malpractice coverage, but I suspect all the coverage that they have will be used to compensate this family for this horrid mistake. And I mean, that's the thing, Nick. That's why it's so important to have a lawyer who knows what they're doing in malpractice, because one mistake can be fatal. I mean, there's nothing more devastating than winning a $20 million verdict at trial and then finding out after the trial that your mistake that you made on the front end is the mistake that's going to cost them a recovery.
That's just stunning, man.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Well, it makes sense then. So lawyers can be sued all the time if they mess up on something like that.
And that's the reason I want to go over this story with the public, is let people know that lawyers are also subject to standard of care. We have rules we have to follow, and if we violate the rules, there are consequences as well, and they can be very, very painful consequences. You're looking at one of them right there. Notice statutes that require various things to be done before a lawsuit is filed. They're very serious, they're mandatory, they're strict.
And there's specific things that have to be done in malpractice cases that wouldn't, say, be in a personal injury lawsuit.
That's why you don't call a personal injury lawyer to handle a medical malpractice case, or you don't call a criminal defense lawyer or a divorce lawyer or any other type of lawyer who's not proficient in handling medical malpractice cases. These laws change from year to year. They have very specific requirements in how you file them. And the legislature, they did this. They knew what they were doing. They did this because they wanted to make it harder for people to sue.
And that's what that is. And because then you have lawyers missing. How often do those laws change where you have to keep up to speed on something that's been changed?
Well, we see them change daily. It's not just in the legislature, but it's the court's interpretation of the law that can change from one year to the next.
Okay.
That's what makes it difficult as well.
Let's take a quick call from Bob. See, Bob, are you there, Bob? Hi, Bob.
Oh, how we doing?
Good.
I've got two questions.
Okay.
One had an aortic aneurysm, and after the operation, like for 2 weeks, they gave what's that thing? They put it in the arm. It's in my neck. I just need the number to talk to your nurse or something.
All right. So what would it be? All right. Now he had an aortic aneurysm.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's a port.
Yeah.
Bob, that you're talking about, where they administer medication. Is that what you're talking about?
Is that it, where they administer medication, Bob?
No, it's the thing. It's like that to fit in the arm. I had a port. They had to remove that because it got corrupted after they quit using it. That's one thing. That's why I need to talk to your nurse or something. But I can't sleep now. It's been in my neck for 2 weeks. After the surgery a week and rehab a week, and then they took it out.
And it's hurting his sleep. All right, now I don't know. I mean, and with Bob, if he wants to follow up, we'll have the number up later. But all right, let's just say something like this, where you have a procedure, and it doesn't sound like flat out, I don't know if they did a mistake on the aorta, but there's something that all of a sudden you have that affects something like your sleep or rest.
I would go back to the surgeon first, whoever implanted the port or whatever was put in his arm, and go back there and say, look, I've got issues. And if that doesn't work, go to your primary care provider and try to get a referral to someone, maybe a sleep doctor if you need to, try to figure out if the two are related. I don't think that's a malpractice case. I think that's a medical issue. It needs to be resolved sooner the better.
He brought up aortic aneurysm. Any kind of aneurysms scare the crud out of me. Okay, just the idea that I could be sitting here with you right now, and somewhere in my body, one of the veins is kind of bubbling up a bit and could pop. Now, it can bring pain, and I'm just wondering, in terms of lawsuits, they can be difficult to diagnose, but doctors will spot them oftentimes. If you have a bad headache or a bad pain, and you go and check, and they miss it, and send you home, and then it bursts, and of course something horrible happens. Can that be an actionable lawsuit, aneurysm stuff?
Well, so you just made the contradiction right there. You said they're difficult to diagnose, but doctors can see them all the time. That's just it. They're not difficult to diagnose.
Okay, I guess you're right. You're right.
They're very easy to diagnose, as a matter of fact, because all you do is put them on a CT scanner, and there it is.
And you'll see the. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Okay, so if you go in with pains, and you're right.
I'll give you an example that's the classic example. Someone comes in the emergency room with a headache that they described as the worst headache of their life.
All right.
Okay? There's two ways to look at that headache: migraine or aneurysm, brain bleed. Okay? What's the standard of care in that situation? Your CT scan of the head. CT scan of the head finds the aneurysm. If the CT scan's clean, it's likely a migraine. But that's how you diagnose that. These days it is extremely easy to diagnose aneurysms.
Okay, and I guess what maybe I meant to say is I don't know if it's more difficult to determine at what point. I have friends who have had them diagnosed, and they say based on the size of it right now, you're fine. Okay, they didn't go in and address it. I have someone who was an aortic aneurysm, and I think there's little points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When it gets to a certain level size, they need to be addressed. Now, can that be an issue? I don't know if that's necessarily more difficult, but if they say, you have one, but you're okay, and then you go home and it blows.
That's a different situation entirely. And then I understand what you're talking about. For example, a AAA is an abdominal aortic aneurysm.
Okay.
The concern with those is you get a tear inside that aneurysm that leaks blood. It leaks out into the system, okay? Think of it as like kind of like a rubber balloon, but it's a thick one, okay? And so it can hold air. It can even have a little rip in it, and the air might leak out of it, but it's not going to pop. You know?
Kind of like a tire or something.
Correct, correct, like a tire.
Right.
And it leaks, and you can manage it if it's leaking slowly. You can manage it medicinally. In some cases, you can go in there and sew it up. Okay. The concern people have with these is sometimes that leak can grow into a gusher. And that's what kills you, okay? Because then you can bleed to death.
Just hemorrhage out.
So yes, those decisions about when and under what circumstances to have surgery. In fact, I got a case like that right now involving a patient who's got a AAA. Those can be a little bit tricky. That's why it's really important to be followed by a cardiac surgeon. That's where cardiac surgery and also vascular surgeons, those people are experts at monitoring that type of situation.
Okay. Just aneurysms scare me, I'm telling you. We have another caller on line 1. Go ahead, caller. Are you there on line 1?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
My question is, if someone, say for instance, my sister found her deceased, and someone steps in and calls their funeral home without my permission, and then goes so far as to sign for her to be cremated without my permission. What is the law on that?
Well, wait, who did that? Who did that? So did your sister die at home, and then who was it that arranged it?
The nephew.
Oh, okay. Nephew did all this stuff without your involvement, and you're saying you were kind of the caretaker for your sister?
I was next of kin.
Next of kin, and then they cremated her without. And this upset you because she didn't want that, or you wanted to be involved, or you believe they were trying to cover something up?
Well, I don't believe they're trying to cover something up. I tried to talk to the funeral home, and they refused to talk to me because
okay. You know, that might be a question more for Tim Takis, our elder care attorney, in terms of who has control over. And I sympathize with her, but that's not really malpractice.
I don't want to wade into that one because I agree with you. I think that is a great question for Tim. These are really, really sensitive issues, and I can understand how she feels like she does, but that's beyond the realm of my expertise.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll take a break. And by the way, ma'am, Tim Takis is on tomorrow. We've got 2 lawyers in a row, 2 of the best lawyers in the state coming on 2 different subjects. But we'll ask Tim about that tomorrow. You're welcome to call us on that tomorrow. We'll take a quick break, and let's come back with more with Clint Kelly right after this.
The Storm 5 weather up.